5 minutes.
5 minutos. Eso es muy caliente.
Hey, download your gotta have today. Yay, Chai Woo! China number 1! USA number 2 down!
Future!
We're talking about that.
It's like I took a poop and it was one of those painful ones that brings tear to your eyes. Ah, there it is. Found it!
Man,
No, it's not
I
time
just
for
love
that.
noodles.
Not as much as me, dude.
Ugh.
Not as much as me.
Oh yeah? I bet I love them even more.
Oh yeah, buddy. What are we missing? Oh, now we need music. We need music, maestro. La 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 la. Do not cry. Oh, why am I sitting down? I need cups, I need glasses.
Hello, motherfucker.
Was a way to get back home. Oh, I'm gonna bust out my
Run.
Jesus. Oh!
Hello, motherfucker.
Hello. Penises. Oh Jesus, he's drunk. Penises. Good morning, ladies and gents. Hello, motherfuckers, to you too. Haha. Oh, ho, ho. Ha. You don't need to drink more than that, Psycho. That is plenty. Shh. I don't know. So to me, it seems like bottles are classier when they have a legit cork friggin' topper. Just boop. Maybe it's just me. And in the end, oh. Nope. Turn back to the rye? What? Oh, sorry. Okay, here you go. Just for you, Nate. Ah. Minor case rye whiskey. Focus, camera! This is what I want people to see. We gotta give the people what they want. I did adjust the camera and now it doesn't want to autofocus. There you go. Lady Godiva. Today's stream was brought to you by Maker's Case Rye Whiskey. I know it's books and bourbon, but you know, it's whiskey. Not doing scotch, so. Oh. Hope everybody's had a decent day today. Mine's about to get fuzzy. Just trim around the hat. I mean, we could turn the camera. I mean, this is not set in stone. We could have the Pokemon background. And I could move. There him is. Oh, chilling in the living room. You guys think Pokemon background? Yeah? Pokemon?
If I want to go to bed, I just got done putting a new fan up in the kitchen.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Handyman.
Yeah.
Pokemon background or just the regular? Bonus Nate face. That's right. Look at that. Bravo! Bravo! Bravo!
Yeah. I like got the mason jar. I got two of them actually. One, I got me another one to put on the other, over here where that ugly chandelier is.
You're an ugly chandelier. I would not hang you.
That ugly thing. It was up there when we moved in.
Oh, it's about time. Fuck.
Yeah.
But you know, they say Rome wasn't built in a day by a couple of brothers that suck wolf titties.
Yeah.
I added that part, but Romulus and Remus, you know.
No. I don't know.
Oh
I
god.
don't know anything.
Fucking Dutch angle. Together, well, my Michelle. There we go. Da-da, da-da. Number one, number two. Camera one, camera two. See, now I gotta do the thing, right? The camera rotates.
Looks nice. Oh, okay. I'll be right back.
Oh shit, Nate just dipped out like, oh dip. Oh, can't get straight into it. Gotta have a couple sippy sips and tell people. Oh,
Yo.
Ray, I just want to let you know you inspired me to use a different cup today.
Inspired a different cup.
Yeah, you see that shit?
I can't. Hold on. Make it bigger so I can see it better. I can't read it. What does it say?
It says Jesus loves you, but I don't. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's sweet.
I'm a sweet guy. What can I say? Sorry, I did the thing. That's my bad. Oh, I feel like my head is too big for this yarmulke. What's going on here? What you drinking there, buddy? Oh, see, now I made it too loose, and it's just, ugh. You know what?
Let's think about it.
Well, what were you thinking about?
I was thinking about going to bed.
Then go to bed.
I don't really want to, but I feel like I probably should.
You do what you want. You are big boy. You wearing big boy pants now.
Not always.
Well, I mean, obviously, you'd fill my pants and then there'd be plenty of room for a second person, but that's besides the point.
I'm not filling your pants. No matter how many ways you word it.
Well, these are some big pants to fill, my friend.
Yeah, but it's not so much about the challenge, but about the act of having to do it.
Oh, you want to do it. It's okay. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can definitely taste the sherry. Woo! It's nice. It's nice. It's real nice, like.
Yeah.
Ah, jibber. That's right. Sherry cask finished. I don't know what that means, but...
Yeah.
Woo!
I'm working on
Huh?
I'm working on my Johnny Walker in my special EMS class.
Ha! All right.
Drink to that.
Chapter 6. Brahmin Baraza. A mere 12 months after joining the army, I was back in Iraq for the second time with the 2nd Ranger Battalion. My hope for my second deployment was to finally apply all my warfighting skills and see real war firsthand. I thought there was a good chance this might happen because my unit got surged for forward ahead of standard rotation and was told that we'd be hitting the ground running. That doesn't happen unless things are really starting to get chippy, right? I'll never know for sure, but I think my team leader, Sergeant Dale Brem, felt the same way and understood how different this deployment might be for me. As we prepared to deploy, he pulled me aside one day and gave me a big piece of news. When we rotated home at the end of this 6-month deployment, it would be my turn to go to Ranger School. I had made the cut to attend the combat leadership course and to keep progressing within the unit. Brem also gave me his Ranger tab and Ranger scroll. In Ranger tradition, you sew your team leader's tab and scroll inside your PC, patrol cap, and whenever shit gets really hard, whenever you have doubts or feel like you're hitting a wall during the training, you can take off your PC and look at those patches as a reminder that you have what it takes to make it to the end of the suck. And the guy who gave you those patches thinks so too. Someone had done that for Sergeant Brem before he went through Ranger School, and now he was paying it forward to me. His gesture and the confidence that he showed in me really buoyed me as we arrived in late October 2005 and headed toward a border region called Anbar Province, renowned as a major artery for the inflow of foreign fighters from Syria. Our area of operation had just seen a major American offensive clear through it. We were tasked to find the remaining fighters and kill or capture them, which wound up being easier than I had anticipated. Once we got situated and fully operational, we conducted raids every night for weeks on end without finding ourselves in any kind of major engagement. Partly that was because the offensive that preceded us had done a pretty good job. But I suspected that the primary reason we were coming up empty-handed was because it was getting into winter and the fighting season over. There is during the warmer months. Meh. What?
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I need to get off here. You, my buddy out in San Diego, apparently.
Oh my god, use your fucking words!
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to make out what he's saying here. He's talking about eating a bullet.
I mean, some people have low-lead diets.
Yeah.
But do what you gotta do, man.
Let me call him. Alright, bro.
Later, Nate. You don't go to Aspen in July looking to ski, right? Well, you don't come to Iraq in December looking to fight. As the deployment dragged on, we'd go out on an operation, get on target, and any bad guys who were still there would surrender immediately. I called them cold weather quitters. The cadence of it all during this period of the fighting in Iraq became so reliable that even if we were in a particularly concentrated area, we could blitz through multiple targets in a night, sometimes up to a dozen. It was like old-fashioned blitzkrieg, but with smaller units and bigger beards. My platoon was not unique in this regard. It was happening to special operation units all over the country. It just pissed me off maybe more than the others because I wanted to get in gunfights, not to earn a merit badge and zip tie knots. Even though coalition forces were bagging some big players in the global war on terror at the same time, they offered me no solace because my interests were not geopolitical. They were visceral. I wasn't obsessed with winning. I was obsessed with the act of war. That's what I was there for. That's what I wanted to be good at. This wasn't some kind of fucked up bloodlust, but it was very primal. At its most basic, war is a mano-a-mano fight to the death in service of something much bigger than yourself. General Douglas MacArthur called it duty, God, country in a speech to cadets at West Point near the start of the Vietnam War. Shakespeare called it a band of brothers. Whatever you want to call it. To fight in its defense is the ultimate test, a test I was desperate for the opportunity to face and anxious to pass. As a 19-year-old kid, I wasn't smart enough to understand why this drove me so hard, and to a degree I still don't fully get it. But what I do know is that I was not alone. Humans and other mammals have engaged in some version of battle in defense of territory, family, the pack, or the tribe for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. Today, educated people like to think we've evolved beyond this fundamental instinct, and they look down their noses at warfighters as primitive or aggressive, whatever the fuck that means. But all you need to do is spend 2 minutes on Twitter to realize that this ancient animal impulse is alive and well. No shit. It's a fucking cesspool on Twitter, man. Get off that shit. Still, there is a danger in giving yourself over too completely to the thrill of war, and I was coming very close to crossing that line before I'd even fired a fatal shot. The danger is not that you will lose yourself, though that is always possible, but that you will lose sight of the greater purpose of each mission. On this second trip, there were times when I didn't fully appreciate the danger of some of the situations that we were inserting ourselves into night after night. But with our crazy high operational tempo, I was never reckless, but there were times when I wasn't necessarily seeing the full field, and when that happens, bad things can follow. Those first few months, we were blowing down doors and dodging bullets nearly every night. But it never really felt like we were being tested too badly, at least not beyond what our training had prepared us for. So it never felt like I'd been able to take my training wheels off to see what I was really made of. Then, with 2 months left on the 6-month trip, things started to change. We were redeployed 250 kilometers to the southeast to a city called Ramadi. At this stage of the war, the vibe in Ramadi was totally different. In recent weeks, the insurgency had been getting pretty nasty in that area, and the place had turned into a fucking tinderbox, one that would explode a couple months later as the Second Battle of Ramadi, a 6-month pitched battle that involved the famous Task Unit Bruiser led by Jocko Willink of SEAL Team 3. It's also where Chris Kyle got his nickname, the Devil of Ramadi. Ramadi produced dozens of American casualties, a Medal of Honor recipient, and God knows how many bronze and silver stars. Many brave Americans sacrificed a lot on those streets. And unlike the insurgents my unit encountered around Anbar, the fighters infesting the streets of Ramadi were willing to stand their ground and fight to the death. I learned that fact firsthand during one of the first raids we conducted in our new AO, Area of Operation. The Striker, an 8-wheeled armored fighting vehicle my squad was riding in, was repositioning to track down some enemy combatants that had just run from a target building. As we sped down an alleyway, one of them cooked off a command-detonated IED. Well, this is new! The explosion blew off 2 of our vehicle's front tires, stopped us in our tracks. Thankfully, no one was severely injured. We all kind of looked around, made sure our dicks were still intact, and gave a roger up, good to go. Much of the next few weeks were just like that. Testy, dynamic engagements, random gunfire from afar, IEDs here and there. Then, the week before we were set to leave and rotate back to the United States, we got a TST, time-sensitive target, out in some farmland west of the city. Initially, I didn't think much of it, but when we learned that the target was a transient house for foreign fighters making their way into Ramadi, my spidey senses started to tingle. This wasn't going to be a normal mission. I could feel it. Not that you ever really put your finger on normal in the middle of a war, but something about this objective felt unsettled. When we finally got spun up, I found myself in the middle of the helicopter between Sergeant Brem and my squad leader, Sergeant Ricardo Barraza. These guys were 2 of the most legitimate badasses in the battalion. Within the tight-knit Ranger community, they were legends. But more personally, they had basically raised me since my first deployment, and I considered them family. When I showed up to the battalion with training but no combat experience, they strived to teach me what it truly means to be a Ranger. How to think, how to fight, how to carry yourself. And if the reactions of my friends to how much I'd changed when I returned home on block leave after that first stint in Mosul were any indication, Brem and Barraza had been great mentors. On this mission, we had good, timely intelligence that our target was holed up somewhere inside one of 4 buildings that were a solid 6-kilometer infill from the HLZ, helicopter landing zone. We were in full kit, which means we were rolling up with 80 to 100 pounds worth of gear on us. I still remember that ruck so vividly. We were headed to what turned out to be a big farm in this quaint little village that is probably as close as Iraq will ever get to Little House on the Prairie. Almost immediately, we found ourselves amidst the worst possible terrain and fighting and stealth movement, a poorly maintained patchwork of plots, segmented by those weird crumbling plow roads that prevented us from going straight toward the target for any meaningful distance, before having to weave around one thing or climb over something else. In a few spots, we had to place ladders over open trenches just to get to the walkable ground. By the time we reached the outskirts of the village and set up our ORP, Operational Reference Point, nearly every member of the team had eaten shit at least once on the uneven ground. With 4 buildings to hit, the ground force commander quickly delegated which target buildings were first, and which squad would be assaulting each. The intelligence that we had indicated that the bad guys, if they still were there, were most likely to be in one or 2 of the 4 structures, so we broke up the unit into 2 assault squads and 2 support squads, and decided to hit the building simultaneously. When everyone was clear on the plan, my squad began maneuvering toward the first building. I was uncomfortable from the moment we entered the village. The walls were low-cut and close together, with very little space between buildings. We had to walk in single file, making it tactically challenging to maneuver. We immediately found ourselves in a compromised position, and that is no way to start your approach. Our target was a rudimentary Iraqi village house. It was 1,200 to 1,400 square feet at most. The walls were made of mud-based concrete, and the floors inside were almost certainly going to be hard, filthy, packed mud as well. We decided to set an ECT, explosive cutting charge, and go in loud while second squad took down the other building. As far as we knew, no one had any idea we were there. As we entered the first room of the house, an enemy combatant bolted toward a bookshelf in the corner. I cut an angle on the room to clear my barrel from Sergeant Brem and moved to squeeze the trigger to engage him. Then, in what felt like milliseconds before I let the first round go, he suddenly stopped, put up his hands, and kneeled on the floor. For some reason I couldn't explain, I didn't fire immediately. I felt like I still needed to give those people the benefit of the doubt, no matter who they were. This guy was giving up, so I had to let him give up. Saying those words again to myself more than a decade later, they sound so foreign. 22-year-old Matt would have blown this fucking guy's head off. But for 19-year-old Matt, even for all his obsession with war and killing bad guys, it wasn't so black and white. Plus, when you're confronted with this crazy situation for the first time, it's completely unnerving. You aren't thinking about the lights going out on the enemy or how you are going to tell his story in a book someday. All you're trying to do is to see the full picture and make the correct decisions so that you and your brothers can get back home safe. When I got up closer, that's when I saw the AK-47 on the shelf, well within arm's reach. Fortunately, Brem saw it first and tackled the guy, then beat the shit out of him until I grabbed the weapon, locked and cleared it. And I had a teammate zip time so we could continue moving through the rest of the building. The main guy we were looking for was not in this first building. We quickly moved outside and cordoned off one of the other buildings where we thought he was most likely to be. With the exterior secured, we began conducting a call-out. The call-out in the most basic form is when you have your interpreter yell out to anybody who might be in the building that shit is about to go down and they have two choices, give up or die. Come out of the house, the interpreter shouted. The soldiers will kill you if you don't. Come out of the house or you will die. He repeated himself 4 or 5 times for good measure. This is your last chance before we begin firing. Those were the magic words. In a matter of seconds, it was like Alibaba and all 40 of his thieves came filing out of that house. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen. Usually you see 4, maybe 5 people, the normal size of an Iraqi family, come out of a structure this size. In this instance, it was an Iraqi clown car. I counted 16 of them before I lost track. Woo! That's a lot of people coming out, or more. Cheers. Is there like 8 bunks in each room? I asked one of the older men through our interpreter as he filed past me. Or are you guys just physically sleeping on top of each other? He just looked at me. No response. Typical. Is there anyone else inside this house? My platoon sergeant asked a girl he had pulled aside. No, she responded via the interpreter. If there's someone in there, we're going to fucking kill them. Do you understand? You have to tell me if there's anyone else left inside. No, there's no one else inside, I promise. She was empathetic. My platoon sergeant wasn't satisfied. He pulled a male in his 20s out of line and off to the side. Is there anybody else in this building? Because if there is, we're going to blow up the whole fucking house. You got it? No, I swear by Allah, there's no one else in this house, he answered. Today there's a way to find out for sure if they are telling the truth. You send in one of the working dogs, run a fully trained, battle-hardened Belgian Malinois through that house, and you'll find out real quick just how empty it is. Back then, however, canines and side plates were other protective measures were not a regular part of the SOPs, standard operating procedures, for missions like this, so you had to go gather information on the fly and then go with your gut. After everyone swore up and down that there was no one left in the building, we decided to do the charitable thing and return the line of bullshit they were feeding us. We split my assault squad into 2 teams. Bravo team went to the black side of the building, the back side, while Alpha, which I was in, went to the white side, the front entrance. We decided to offset our breach so Alpha could go in slightly ahead of Bravo team on the black side. Boom! In. As the dust settled from the door breach, we threw in a flashbang to disorient whoever might be waiting for us and entered into what appeared to be a tiny vestibule separating the front door from a reasonably large living room. On the other side of the room across from the front door, we could see a staircase that led directly up to the 2nd floor. We could also see a boatload of bad feng shui. To the left and right were parallel sets of closed doors that led to adjoining rooms. We had to clear those before moving upstairs. Brem and Barraza took the door on the left. Peters, another member of my team, locked down the staircase, which appeared to be barricaded at the top. My teammate Hansen and I took the door on the right. We breached our doors simultaneously. Very quickly, my white light intersected with the Hansen's and we called the all clear. As soon as those words left our mouths, the distinct and deafening sound of fully automatic fire rang out behind us. As Hansen and I tried to figure out where the sound was coming from, the chaos of non-stop gunfire in those few seconds scrambled our senses. It felt like being in a hall of mirrors made out of noise. A moment later, we realized that the gunfight had erupted inside the room that Brem and Barraza had just entered. Then we heard a faint voice. "I'm hit. I can't move." It was Brem. Immediately, Hansen and I pushed through the living room, following Brem's voice. We found him lying 2 or 3 feet inside the doorway of the adjacent room. He wasn't moving. As we tried to pie the room to gain better visibility, that's when we saw Barraza on the far side of the room. He wasn't moving either. The speed at which all of this had taken place left Hansen and me momentarily disoriented and unsure of the proper course of action. We weren't clear on what exactly had happened. "I'll pull security." "Do you think we can grab Brem?" Hansen said. "Roger," I responded. I jumped into the room, completely exposing my body. Hansen was pulling security, but with no line of sight into the room. I was sure a stream of bullets was going to rip through the side of my body, but I'd rather die than not give aid to my teammate. I grabbed a firm hold of Brem's shoulder strap and the pull strap on the back of his kit and yanked him out of the room as hard as I could. Somehow I exited the room unharmed and was able to pull Brem back in with me into the living room. I looked down at him and began an initial scan of his body for any obvious damage, but I couldn't find any. At this point, Brem was non-responsive, so I started to run scenarios through my head. He probably just took a shot to the helmet, or maybe the chest plate. It knocked him unconscious. Okay, that makes sense. He's good. Next, I started to undo Brem's plate carriers to do a full medical sweep and search more thoroughly for any wounds. That's when he exhaled a mouthful of blood. God damn it, god damn it, god damn it. At 23 years old, 5'9" and maybe 185 pounds, Sergeant Dale Brem was a fire plug and the consummate team leader. He always had us prepared for any situation, and he told us many times if he was ever wounded, we should key his mic to call in help. So that's what I did. "Medic, we need a medic in Building 10, I shouted through his push-to-talk. Before I could release the button on Brem's radio, automatic fire opened up on the opposite side of the building. Bravo team had just made entry from the black side and engaged an enemy combatant, killing him as they cleared their way to us. When they finally entered the living room, Peters had joined Hansen, pulling security as they attempted to administer first aid to Brem. Our platoon medic, who followed Bravo team in, immediately dropped to his knees next to me. "Where is he hit?" the medic shouted. "I'm not sure. He has no exposed wounds, but he's exhaling blood," I replied as the medic began to work. I jumped to my feet, realizing that we still had no understanding of what or where the threat was. At that point, another squad from our platoon arrived and we began preparing to stage on the room where Barraza's body was still lying motionless. The only portion of the room we couldn't see was the far back left quadrant, so the front member of our team tossed in his flashbang in that direction. Boom! I followed him and another team member in. As the white lights of our weapons intersected, we saw a man lying underneath prayer mats trying to hide, holding an AK-47 in his hand. We all engaged in a flurry of gunfire, killing him immediately, although he may have already been mortally wounded. With the immediate threat neutralized, we turned back to our wounded. We had 2 Rangers down. 2 of our leaders, 2 guys who gave everything they had to every mission and would give their lives to protect every man in their command. We needed to get them on a medevac as soon as possible. As this reality began to sink in, I let my emotions get the best of me. "You motherfucker," I yelled as I began to pummel the dead body of the insurgent with my fists. "You fucking piece of shit." I was wearing my carbon fiber gloves, and they began fracturing every part of the dead combatant's face. I could feel his orbital bones caving back into the soft tissue of his head. It was a feeling unlike any I had felt, before or since. Best, that's fucking enough. Let's go," a member yelled at me. Whew. Kind of intense. How are my levels? Is music too loud or is it okay? I don't know. I can hear what I hear here and it sounds kind of loud to me, but let me know, guys. I wish I could sit here and tell you all these years later that I should have been able to keep it together in that moment. That I should have understood that my desire to kill these dickheads was reciprocated by their desire to kill me. And that this was just the nature of war. But you know what? Fuck that. If I could travel back in time, I would change the course of that night just to make him feel every punch while he was still alive. As my platoon began to regroup, we prepped Brem and Barraza for the medevac. The Blackhawks were 10 minutes out. We needed to pre-stage the casualties and get them to an open field, about 300 meters away, that we designed as the HLZ. The fuck is that sound? One team loaded Brem on a stretcher and began moving him. Barraza wasn't so simple. 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Ricardo Barraza was 6'2", 220 pounds, and a PT, physical training stud of the highest order. Whatever the Spanish for brick shithouse is, he was that. Several weeks earlier, our base had held a giant flag football tournament. Our Ranger platoon fielded two 12-man teams, one of which was led by Barraza. The rest of the teams in the tournament came from the 4 companies worth of Marines, about 600 men total. Stationed there among us, along with us, Barraza was not going to let a bunch of Marine infantrymen outperform Rangers. In his mind, it wasn't even an option. So he did what he always did, went balls out and won the whole fucking thing. He was an animal. He played with his team until 3 p.m. or so, then got some rest, got some chow, and was ready to go out on a mission by 10 the same night. Now that unstoppable, immovable force of a man was lying at our feet. Like Brem, he was unconscious and non-responsive. It took a group of us to hoist him off the deck and get him onto the stretcher. As we began to make our way outside to the HLZ, I bumped into my best friend in the unit, Trey Bullock. "I thought you were fucking dead, dude," he said gravely. "Nah, man, it's Brem and Barraza. They got hit, but we're going to get them out of here." "You guys need extra security?" Trey said, as he positioned his saw toward the HLZ squad automatic weapon. "Yeah. We could use it, brother." Trey tapped my helmet as if to say, "Good, because you're not going alone." 10 minutes earlier, amidst the chaos of a close quarters gun battle, I struggled to understand what was happening, but now in the swirl of a different kind of uncertainty, it was clear as day what I was in the middle of. True brotherhood, live or die, now and forever. With Trey at my side, we made it out to the HLZ just as the Blackhawks were landing. The dust off the rotor wash kicked dirt all over us, so we shielded Barraza with our bodies to protect him from the debris. As the wheels touched down, we sprinted to load him up, positioning him in the cabin of the helo with the help of the flight crew. Our medic relayed the medical information to the flight medic, and as soon as the helo landed, it was wheels up and headed back to the FOB, Forward Operating Base. An uncomfortable sense of relief set in as Brem and Barraza disappeared into the night, and Trey and I started running back to help clear and button the thing up so we could all get the fuck out of here. And that's when we heard a large explosion rip through the second target building, obliterating our brief sense of relief. We sprinted back and made it to the entrance in under a minute, though it felt like forever. When we pushed open the front door, we found the members of our platoon laid out and bloody on the floor on the same living room I'd pulled Brem out about 15 minutes earlier. This room was really starting to fucking piss me off. Here's what had happened. As our teams prepped and moved Brem and Barraza to the HLZ, other teams were performing secondary clears, a process by which you move through a building room by room, checking any and all hiding spots for people, weapon caches, rigged explosives, you named it. Hidden inside an armoire in the room where Brem and Barraza had been shot, my platoon sergeant, it's blacked out, discovered a boy who looked about 14 years old. They demanded that he put his hands up. Reluctant to engage the unarmed boy, seconds later the boy detonated a suicide vest. All 5 members in the room at the time, 3 Rangers, the blank, and a Navy SEAL EOD, explosive ordnance disposal tech, were wounded as the suicide vest packed with ball bearings exploded through them. Barely 40 minutes into our time on target, 20% of our platoon had been wounded, some of them badly. We desperately needed to exfil off this patch of blood-stained dirt. But first, we had to get these newly wounded brothers medevaced. As we gathered the medical supplies to triage the wounded as best we could, we assessed the severity of their injuries. 2 were only moderately wounded, including my platoon sergeant, who had taken shrapnel to the face and arms. While ugly, most of the lacerations were superficial, so he didn't miss a beat maintaining command and control of the platoon. Immediately, he called in another medevac, for the 3 others in the room who were more severely hurt. That's when we realized that we didn't have enough stretchers to get them off target and out to the HLZ. The ground force commander instructed the incoming helos to adjust. They were to hover above the target building and drop off more stretchers before making their way to the HLZ to pick up the wounded. It wasn't long before the sound of a CH-47 Chinook helicopter churned through the air. I sprang up the stairs to the rooftop of the building and joined an element already pulling security as a massive hulking twin-rotor bird hovered 10 feet off the deck. The crew chief signaled a thumbs up and dropped 2 stretchers onto the rooftop. As we loaded the 3 most severely injured onto the stretchers, I spotted Hansen sitting against a wall. He had ball bearings in his leg and a completely shattered foot. Of my 4-man alpha team, I was now the only non-casualty. It was pure luck, though at the time it felt more like a curse. Hansen watched as his more seriously wounded teammates were lifted and stretchered to the HLZ. Of course, I'm going to have to walk my ass out of here, aren't I? He said. It wasn't a question. He stood up on his good leg and hobbled toward the HLZ in true Ranger fashion. After hauling our Navy SEAL EOD counterpart to the HLZ, he had also taken multiple ball bearings throughout his body and suffered a significant fracture of his arm. I was finally able to link back up with my platoon and exfil. As I sat crammed in between my teammates and some enemy combatants we had taken off target, a mix of emotions rushed through my head. Hate, vengeance, and strongest of all, disbelief. I was in the same position where I'd sat on the helo ride into the target earlier that night. From nearly this exact vantage point only a few hours before, I'd watched Barraza with night vision goggles lighting up his eyes stare out over the moonlit Iraqi terrain. I didn't know what he'd been thinking about, but I knew it was good, and it was just because I knew Ricardo Barraza. Now as I blinked to clear the blood sweat out of my eyes, in that brief flash I could see that moment all over again. It was a moment that was gone as soon as it happened, but it was one that seared itself into my consciousness, a memory that would never fade. We returned to base just after 6 a.m., later than usual, and were immediately debriefed. That was when we learned officially that Sergeant Dale Brem, 23, and Staff Sergeant Ricardo Barraza, 24, had been killed in action, doing what they loved for something they believed in, something greater than themselves, duty, God, country, their band of brothers. They died honorably, but their deaths were no less tragic to the people who loved them. Dale, who got his Ranger tab on September 10, 2001, would have had his 24th birthday coming 3 days later. Ricky was going to get married just weeks after we got back. Both men who'd grown up less than 3 hours away from each other in Central Valley in California and joined the Army out of high school just like the rest of us were on their 6 tours. About a week later, I was stateside to bury one of my mentors and my friends. As the honor guard carried Dale Brem across the rolling grounds of Arlington Cemetery to his final resting place beneath a temporary white cross driven into the earth, I made certain to remember the things about him and Ricky that I admired most. I wanted to fuse these things into my character and make sure their legacies lived on in my heart and in my actions. I recommitted myself on a daily basis to my family the way Dale had when he gave all his focus to his wife when they were together. I resolved to become a better warrior and an even better man, following Barraza's fearless example in the face of adversity. Dale Brem and Ricardo Barraza went down fighting that March night, each one in his own way saving my life. Their sacrifice will forever be my motivation to live. But more immediately, it would be my inspiration to double time it down to Ranger School only a few short days later and work to become the kind of leader they showed me it was possible to be. Godspeed, brothers. Oof. There was very little punctuation in that. It was kind of hard to read, but you can tell that he was just trying to get it all done in one fell swoop. It sucks. I wouldn't know, or would I? No, not really, but, you know, friends, mentors, so on and so forth. Ooh! That one tickled my uvula. Alright, it's time for a quick break. I will be back momentarily, but in the meantime, am I gonna put up the be right back thing? I don't feel like pausing the music, so. Bum ba bum ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum. Be right back. Hurry up, 5 minutes.
5 minutos. Esta noche es muy caliente.
Hey, download your TikTok app today so you can have Chinese spyware in your house for free. Yay, Chi-Com spyware. Woo! China #1, USA #2, you go down! Give me money.
Fucking future!
We're talking about a fat ass and everything, yeah.
No, I said loud ass. It's like I took a poop and it was one of those painful ones that brings a tear to your eye.
Man, I just love noodles.
Not as much as me, dude. Not as much as me.
Oh yeah? I bet I love them even more.
Okay then, how much do you love noodles?
This much. And I will always love noodles. Yeah, I'll always love noodles. Yeah, I'll always love you. So how much do you love noodles? Oh my God!
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel P.T. Chester Whitmore is proud to present Bongo Chungo and the Zimbabwe Songbird.
Do you see Banana Man hopping over on the white hot sand? Here he come with some for me, freshly taken from banana tree. Banana Man, me want it done. Give me double and a bonus one. Give me more for all me friends. This banana flow will never end. Do you want a banana? Peel it down and go Do you want a banana? This banana for you. Tonight we dance around the flame, then we get to play the spirit game. Spirit names we shout out loud, shake the thunder from the spirit cloud. All the songbirds in the tree chant a tune to let the spirits free. Then we see them in the night, spirits jumping by the firelight. Do you want a banana? Peel it down. Do you want a banana? This banana for you. Ho, ho, ho! Look you're too uptight, you know. You could laugh and kick it back and go, but without a rhythm or a rhyme, you do not banana all the time. Fly away from city on the run, try to make a little fun. Look, you come to the bungalow, after that you tell me don't you so. Don't you love the bumping of the drum? Make it shake until the bongo lump. Let the bongo play until you drop. This banana never stops. troubles and go with the flow. Forget about whatever you may never know, like whether whatever you're doing is whatever you should, and whether anything you do is ever anything good. And then forget about banana when it's sticking your throat, and when they make you wanna bellow but you stuck in a choke. And then forget about the yellow from the colorful man, and make you take another one and make a mark of your plan. Bungalow, make up your mind and tell me no. Well, it's 9 o'clock and it's getting dark and the sun is falling from the sky. I've never left so early and you may wonder why. Tomorrow morning on the plane, no banana make you go insane. Floating back to busy town, no banana make you want to frown. Do you want the banana? Peel it down. Do you want the banana? This banana for you.
Hurry up, 5 minutes.
5 minutos. Esta noche es muy caliente.
Hey, download your TikTok app today so you can have Chinese spyware in your house for free. Yay, Chi-Com spyware. Woo! China #1, USA #2, you go down! Give me money.
Fucking future!
We're talking about a fat ass and everything, yeah.
No, I said loud ass. Jesus Christ. It's like I took a poop and it was one of those painful ones that brings a tear to your eye.
Man, I just love noodles.
Not as much as me, dude. Not as much as me.
Oh yeah? I bet I love them even more.
Okay then, how much do you love noodles?
This much. And I will always love noodles. Yeah, I'll always love noodles. Yeah, I'll always love you. So how much do you love noodles? Oh my God!
Hello, motherfucker.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel P.T. Chester Whitmore is proud to present Bongo Chungo and the Zimbabwe Soldier.
Do you see Banana Man hopping over on the white hot sand? he come with some.
Let me know how you really feel. Oh! And then... Fuck you say me, woman. Ah, the frog. Chapter 7. Tab on the shoulder, tats on the sleeve. Ranger School is a 2-month combat leadership proving ground open to all branches of the military, but the 75th Ranger Regiment is the only unit that requires all of its officers and non-commissioned officers to attend the course. It is broken into 3 phases: Darby, Mountain, and Florida, starting in the butthole of America and dripping down into its taint by the time it's all said and done. Darby, which takes place in a remote corner of Fort Benning in Columbus, is often called the crawl phase of Ranger School because you have to crawl before you can walk. In other words, instructors basically become the worst parents ever and treat you like you're the baby who should have been a blowjob, but who has ruined all of their life plans instead, and now they're going to make you pay for it. They don't let you sleep. They shove you to the ground all day long. They scream at you with colorful words like cocksucker and titty boy. It's like a depressing episode of Cops, except you also get to learn the fundamentals of squad level mission planning, which are the basic building blocks of Ranger leadership. If you can't lock in this stuff, then you weren't meant to lead men, or at least not yet, and you had a quick trip home ahead of you. I would be lying if I said I was nervous going into Ranger School, having come straight from Arlington Cemetery and Ramadi before that. Under normal circumstances, Rangers deploy once after RASP on a kind of probationary status to determine if they have what it takes, then go straight to Ranger School to get the tab and become a full member of the battalion. But because 275 got surged forward before I could go, I ended up deploying twice as a probationary private before my chance to attend Ranger School came up. You'd think going in with all that experience would be an advantage, and to an extent I'm sure it was. It certainly kept my mind busy and focused on my goals, partly as a way to avoid getting caught up in my grief over losing Brem and Barraza. But the benefit of going in 6 months earlier, just after just one deployment, young and cherry, is that you still have the bliss of ignorance. You don't truly understand in a visceral way the real-world implications of what you're being taught. It's not all fun and games, obviously, but it's also not exactly life and death. After 2 deployments which taught me the cold realities of war, I fully appreciated the stakes associated with mission planning. I knew what happened when shit went sideways, and did not want to be the kind of soldier who might fuck that up. Don't fuck that up. Ooh, reading is hard. More than anything, I did not want to disappoint Sergeant Brem, wherever he may be. He knew I'd make it home. He knew I'd make it to Ranger School, and he knew I'd make it through. It was his job to know that, both as a Ranger team leader and as a leader of men... Oh, fuck mother. It's a big spider. I'm not wearing my shoes. Hold on, guys. I gotta say hi to an unwanted house guest. Give me a moment. There might be a lot of cussing. Don't mind me. I'm sorry, guy. Normally I'm live and let live, but you're big. And, oh, you didn't make it, did you? Alright, we got him. Mission success. I'll send you guys a picture later. Legs spread out. He was about the size of a postage stamp. That's too big for somebody who's not paying rent. Ah! Where were we? More than anything, I did not want to disappoint Sergeant Brem wherever he may be. He knew I'd make it home, he knew I'd make it to Ranger School, and he knew I'd make it through. It was his job to know that both as a Ranger team leader and as a leader of men. There was only one thing that Dale didn't anticipate on my behalf: flesh-eating bacteria. Listen, I could go into many challenges that Ranger School presents, or you could Amazon the other 80 How to Be a Ranger books that probably exist. There isn't a fucking self-help book, okay? And this isn't a chapter about the rigors of training. It's about how impressive it is that the only infection I got came from the multitude sex acts I'd committed, but from Ranger School itself. In Florida phase, which is the real fun one, you conduct small water operations, small craft movements, and platoon-sized operations. All in all, awful Florida swamp on Eglin Air Force Base, situated strategically along the picturesque Redneck Riviera. Those last 3 weeks of Ranger School are where you learn just how much you want that Ranger tab on your left shoulder, because that entire stretch stinks like a bag of smashed assholes that has been left to rot in a Walmart parking lot in the middle of July. Which is exactly when I was there. Now, to be fair, it still doesn't smell as bad as South Korea. Hear me out. I'm not hating on South Korea, but the smell is literal human shit 24/7, 365 days a year. It is disgusting, and I don't know how they deal with it. I mean, I guess they're used to it. They're born there, live there, die there. But Korea's gross, dude. Don't go. If you visit, make sure it's less than 5 days. You don't need the full experience. Every day you're wading in chest deep water into what? Every day you're wading chest deep into a scum-infested river, over and over again, using what the Army calls a hilarious bit of sadistic understatement, expedient stream crossing techniques. I can tell you from first-hand experience, what we crossed every day was not a goddamn stream. A stream is something that you and your girlfriend hop over to reach a meadow for a breezy little weekend picnic. No, that's a crick. In the rushing nightmare the Army had constructed for our navigating pleasure, you were lucky to keep your boots attached to your feet, because each step across the stream sucked them a little deeper into the swampy mud bottom. The true bliss of all this training was knowing that I would never be in a fucking swamp in Iraq. Great foresight, Army, getting rid of the desert phase, BT dubs. Once you're crossing back on land, the instructors can finally get back to smoking you like a fat nug of sticky kind bud. Fast, hot, and straight into the bottom of the bowl. They don't care that you're wearing the least comfortable clothing known to man. Oh, it's constantly wet and sticking to your body. It's covered in algae and alligator shit. That's great. Why don't you go back across that stream with your full ruck and tell someone who gives a fuck? They try to make every single waking second of Florida phase uncomfortable for you. When they know they're succeeding, there's a lot of laughter to be had at your expense. Meanwhile, as they laugh, your exhausted, delirious, sunstroke brain starts to concoct all the different ways you might be able to kill these sumbitches in their sleep. If you could have stepped inside my head in those moments, you could have Minority reported me right to a maximum security psychiatric hospital, and I wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. Well, it's a good thing people can't read our minds, but, it seems really convenient that so many people love to assign intent to our words. You don't know what my intent was. Waffles. About a week into Florida phase, I noticed 3 small reddish sores on my arm. Everyone who lived down here in America's Grundle told me going in that mosquitoes were nasty this time of year, so at first I thought they were just big bite marks. They went from aggravating to agonizing pretty quickly, but I didn't want to be a bitch about it and get kicked out of Ranger School. When you get an injury that is severe enough, they will medically recycle you, meaning that after you're done convalescing, you have to start all over again, or just boot you out of Ranger School forever. If that happens, Ranger Regiment will most likely RFS you, relieve you for standards, which means you go down the road and turn in your hard-earned tan beret. The next day, the 3 sores turned into 10. And not only were they getting bigger, but they were starting to blister. They itched so bad, I don't even have a joke to describe the sensation. Every bit of mental energy I had been using to endure the challenges of Florida phase and dream up ways of killing my tormentors, I now had to turn on toward not scratching my sores, because if I did scratch them, they would pop. And unless you run an STD clinic in Gainesville, and you never want to see the phrases open sores in Florida swamp in the same sentence. As much as I wanted to say something, I couldn't. Imagine trying to tell my instructors about my condition and asking them to give me a break until my itchy sores got better. That's how you get yourself taped to a palm tree with flypaper, wearing nothing but a combat helmet with a Yankee Candle glued to the top. I just had to get through it and deal with the sores once Ranger School was over. Eventually my skin got so bad that I couldn't wear my uniform in accordance with Army regulations. Every chance I had, I rolled up my sleeves or opened my blouse, looking for even the slightest bit of relief. At first, I only did it in places I was sure no one could see me. But I quickly began to take greater and greater risks, starting with not giving a shit whether Trey Bullock saw me flouting the dress code. From my very first day in the military, Trey had been one of my best friends. We went through OSUT, Airborne, and RASP together. We had just been deployed together, and now we were in the same platoon here in Ranger School, which never fucking happens. We were always competing against one another. We both wanted to graduate from Florida phase at the top of our class. But we also always had each other's backs no matter what, just like in the streets of Ramadi. When we saw how miserable I was standing in formation, he whispered over to me, "Hey man, are you alright?" "No man, you see these sores?" I opened my sleeves and showed him my arms. "I feel like I'm fucking dying." "Jesus," he said, as a look of total horror crossed his face. That's when I knew how serious this was. I had seen that look before. It was the same look Detective Olivia Benson gets on Law & Order SVU when a reluctant abuse victim finally gives in and shows her the bruises for the first time. Something must be done. "I know," I said. "I don't know what to do." "You better put your fucking sleeves down and figure it out when we get back, otherwise they're going to—" "Raid your best!" the instructor called out. "You're trying to get a suntan?" "Negative, Sergeant." "Then why the fuck are your sleeves up?" He gave me a look like I'd just arrived to pick up his daughter for prom and handed her a corsage made out of Nuva rings. "God damn it, Bess, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Get your fucking blouse squared away." "I can't right now. Look, Sergeant." I walked over to him and politely showed him the oozing sores all over my arms. I've seen less recoil from 3.5-inch turkey loads. He looked at me and shook his head violently. "Bess, what the fuck do you think you're doing with those goddamn things? Get the fuck away from me." "You betcha," I said under my breath. Part of me was happy that someone else finally got to see this shit I had been dealing with. But most importantly, I took his fearful disgust as permission to go to medical and get treated. Getting medical treatment at an Army base during Ranger School is like going VIP to the Mayo Clinic if the Mayo Clinic used actual mayo to treat its victims. The doctor is typically a physician's assistant in training who has about 30% of what he needs in terms of both knowledge and supplies. To treat the injuries he sees most often. My case was no different. Not only was the guy I went to a total dipshit, but if you questioned his diagnosis, he got downright offended. "So what do we have here today, Ranger Best?" "You might want to stand back," I said before taking off my shirt. "Jesus fuck, what is that?" I was hoping you'd be able to tell me." This was not encouraging. When doctors in Florida are shocked to see something in or on your body, and they don't know what it is immediately, you know it must be bad. After a long hard look from a safe distance, he announced his diagnosis. "I think those are spider bites." "What? Spider bites? Are you fucking kidding me?" "Are you questioning my medical opinion?" "I am if you're trying to tell me these wretched open sores are caused by spider bites. Come on, sir. This has to be something else." "No, it isn't. It's spider bites, nothing more. I know you're probably not used to the conditions down here, but I can tell you straight away from that those are most definitely spider bites." I love the confidence, you know? No, it isn't. Ah, fine, I said. I had no choice but to accept the confident verdict of my new friend, Dr. Dumbass. Give me something for the spider bites and I'll be on my way. At this point, I was willing to try anything he was willing to prescribe. You could have chopped up a children's chewable Tylenol, and I would have snorted off a rusty nail if it promised to relieve 1 second of my agony. What he gave me were some tiny spider bite pills and a bullshit topical powder, and was probably just baby powder with a fancy arachnid label taped to the bottle. Oh, I hate to say it, but look, in case you guys are unfamiliar, a lot of us have issues with the VA because of mistreatment and incompetence and just general malaise. But if you think the VA treatment's bad, the military treatment is generally worse. It's a... Ugh. Ugh. But that's besides the point. I'll carry on now. 2 useless hours after I got there, off I went in a short-sleeved t-shirt. Certainly only one thing. I didn't have fucking spider bites. When I got back to the barracks, the rest of the platoon was getting their gear ready for another field exercise. It was the first time most of them had seen my sores. They all looked at me like I was an extra on The Walking Dead. Trey walked over to me and sat down. Jesus, man, are you alright? He said. No, I'm in a lot of fucking pain. And their diagnosis was just stellar. What did they say it was? Spider bites. Can you believe that shit? Ooh. As luck would have it, one of my buddies, who was a 375th Ranger medic, I'll call him Jones, happened to walk by and overhear us. Who the fuck told you those were spider bites? The physician's assistant. Bullshit spider bites, Jones said. That's one of the most horrific cases of bullous impetigo I've ever seen. You better go back and see him before you lose a limb. I fucking knew it wasn't spider bites, I said. Motherfucker. If you don't know what bullous impetigo is, congratulate yourself and never ever Google it. Let me give you the WebMD synopsis instead. Bullous impetigo creates a bunch of pus-filled sores all over your arms, legs, and back that start in the moist areas of your body, which during Florida phase is all the areas of your body. And they burst open like grilled cherry tomatoes, only to scab over and leave scars roughly the size of a car cigarette lighter. Still turned on? Keep reading. I don't think I want to. I'm looking mighty orange. You know what? This fucking 30 minutes of sun I got is just, gross. I don't want to have color. I need to dress up like the mummy when I go outside. That's besides the point. The only way to limit the spread of the sores is to avoid scratching them or abrading them too much so they won't ulcerate prematurely. I managed to avoid scratching them, but there was nothing I could do about abrasion since my uniform was soaking wet 20 hours out of the day. Effectively becoming a uniform-shaped kitchen sponge with the scrubby side facing inward. Hang on, Jones said. Before you go back, I got something that will give you some immediate relief. I'm sure you're feeling some kind of hell right now. Spider bites hurt, huh? If I didn't laugh at the horror show dancing down my arms, I'd only be able to scream in rage. He walked over to his bag. God bless him, he gave me a tube of steroid cream. The second I applied it, it felt like someone had just put a fire out on my skin. It was the most pain-free I'd been since the day I noticed the sores. I was so grateful to that observant, kind-hearted Ranger medic that I would have sucked his dick in front of everyone in that room. Balls, too. Okay, Matt. That answers a lot of questions, but yeah, I get what you're saying. You're grateful. Feeling the medicine take hold, I started making my way back to medical to find that physician's assistant and get this diagnosed correctly so I could heal properly. When I walked in to speak with him, I could already tell that my presence was unwelcome. Excuse me, sir, you gave me the wrong diagnosis. You said I had spider bites and prescribed me medication for that. What I diagnosed you with is exactly what you have, he said sternly. No, it isn't. I have bullets and pedigo. It's not spider bites. I just need the proper prescription for that. Who the fuck told you have bullets and pedigo? One of my buddies is a ranger medic, and he's seen this before. He also gave me this topical steroid cream to put on. It's really helping with the pain and swelling. So let me get this straight. Someone else not only diagnosed you, but gave you a non-prescribed medication that you used illegally? I wouldn't say illegally. He's a medic, and he had some in his bag. Were you or were you not given prescribed medication that was not in your name, and did you or did you not use it? He said, raising his voice. Yes, but he was only trying to help. What's his fucking name? I'm going to report him too. He should fucking know better. I don't remember his name. He was just passing by. Good job, Matt. Good job, Matt. Matthew, I am proud of you. Don't be no bitch. Don't be no snitch. Bullshit. You just said he was your buddy. Give me his name. Again, I really don't know him. We're all kind of buddies out here, am I right? I said, trying to defuse the situation. I ought to have you kicked out and medically discharged for something like this. Do you know how serious this is? Sir, I just want to graduate and be done with this. I don't give a shit who made the right call out here. What I'm trying to express to you is that I need your help. Can you please give me the correct prescription, sir? That's all I want. After a couple minutes, the guy cooled off as I became more frustrated. I didn't want something so stupid as a misdiagnosis for spider bites in a goddamn swampland to end my military career. Of all the shit to get kicked out of Ranger Battalion for, this would have ranked right up there as one of the dumbest of all time. I can't even imagine what my brothers would have said. Finally, the physician's assistant gave me a second steroid booster shot in the ass, a shot of penicillin, and another tub of topical steroid cream, and sent me on my way. I think he could genuinely see the pain in my eyes and how much I desperately just wanted to get better. I also think he could see that if he got me booted out of Ranger School for this, I would have killed him. You know, it's everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Mike Tyson, but was it the I'm gonna paraphrase, but his other one, the internet's made people much too comfortable with what they say and not afraid of getting a fist to the face. That's generally the vibe of that other Mike Tyson quote, but you know, I get it, and you know, you gotta choose your words carefully when you're talking to multi-million-dollar trained military fucking killers. Anyways, hope you guys are doing well. Are we doing well? Is this the thing? Are we having a good time? Whee! And for those of you who haven't seen my mug, I'm gonna show you again. Wait, I don't hate you guys, but if you are keen, you are more than welcome to go to nah, it's fine. Eventually, the treatment regimen did the trick, but not before 80% of the sores burst, leaving dozens of scars on my arms, back, and sides. Then, to add insult to injury, Trey ended up graduating Florida phase as honor graduate, and I got recycled back to the beginning of it. There's nothing more quintessentially Army than having to crawl back through the same shit swamps that infected you with flesh-eating bacteria that was the reason you had to recycle in the first place. And I wasn't even cured yet. And I found out on what should have been my last day of Florida phase. I stood in my recycle formation and watched as Trey, the old bestie, boarded the graduation bus to go make his family proud. I could feel Brem's tab and scroll on the underside of my PC, pressing against my scalp, reinforcing in me the belief that I could get through this and reminding me not to be such a little pussy. Trey stopped on the first step of the bus and looked back at me. Hey Matt, yeah? I just wanted to say, tab check, bitch! He laughed as he pointed to where his tab would be soon. It made me smile, because that's how best friends are supposed to treat each other. Don't you dare try to cheer me up, motherfucker. I expect you to kick me when I'm down, like a man. By the time I finally graduated a few weeks later, I weighed 159 pounds, and my entire body was covered in bullous and pedigo scars. My skin only got worse during the recycle phase. When my mom, who came to watch me get my tabs, saw me for the first time, she gave me the full-on Olivia Benson. She didn't know whether to hug me or get angry or go on a crusade to figure out who did this to her baby. But she's a much stronger woman than I am. And she was confident that I could survive Ranger School. I could also survive this. Just tell me you're okay, she said. I'm fine, Mom. Are you sure? Yes, I said. And I was, more or less. Until Florida phase, I had such great skin that I could have been one of those moisturizer commercials. Maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's genetics, motherfucker. Now I look like the before picture in a Proactive commercial. I had to do something about it. So like any rational 20-year-old, I started getting large format tattoos to cover up the scars. The day after my cousin, the full bird colonel who magicked me into 275 like a boss, pinned my ranger tab onto the left shoulder of my uniform sleeve, I set out to cover my actual left shoulder with a full tattoo sleeve. I wanted something commemorative that combined imagery with script, something that looked cool but was also personal and would remind me of this period of my life. I narrowed it down to two options and flipped a coin. Heads, it would be an old-timey reward poster with the face of the physician's assistant that read, "Wanted in connection with being a fucking fuckface, fuck this guy." Tails, it would be a decorated memorial shield in honor of Bram and Barraza. It was Tails. Wow, look at that young Matt Best. Oh my goodness. Mom, he's a boy, he'll grow out of it. This would be cooler if it had a laser on it. It's him shooting a bow and arrow. Even as a kid, I wanted to serve my country. Every military book ever written, it was Laundry Day. That's what my brothers do. They play absolutely terrible emo punk music together. Anyways, here's a couple pictures of a young Matt Best. That was the first caption. Focus, camera. Or don't. Either way. Do you not want to focus? Alright, fuck it. Whatever. I'm not doing any more fucking pictures. I'll look through these later. Jesus, there's a lot of fucking pictures in here, Matt. Any more book? There's a lot of pictures. Anyways. Oh, this should have been the book cover, but the publisher wanted to use something more respectable and grown up, and with less guns. That bottom pic right there. They don't want guns in it because, you know, an Army veteran talking about his time in the Rangers and unnamed three-letter organizations. They shouldn't. No guns. Because reasons. You know, I bought this book years ago with the intention of reading it. And here we are now. Finally getting around to reading it. And I'm reading it for the first time ever with you guys. My lovely, lovely friends. Not my family. But that's okay. I appreciate you guys' support. And it's okay. You could talk too. I wouldn't be mad at it. It would just probably take me a second to notice because I'm focused on the book. But it's okay. Do I finish this whiskey and keep drinking more whiskey? Or do I finish this whiskey and we're done with whiskey? Who says that? Who's done with whiskey? Oh. You know what? I'm gonna see how many... That was... You know what? I know it's only been 30 minutes, but I've been drinking, so it's time for another schmeggy break. I'm just gonna leave this screen up. I'm not gonna put up the be right back screen. Just know that I'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes, and I love you guys. I really appreciate your support. Don't mind the Jesus mug. Oh, penis. I'm gonna have a sippy sip, and A schmeeg schmeeg. That was not a full sip. Boom! So that was my Tampa Bay Buccaneers mug until the logo decided to come off. And I hand wash only, but the second part of the stream is brought to you by Crown Royal Black. Look at that widow bottle. It's just a widow bottle. Anyways, I'll be back shortly. You guys are great. You guys are fucking great. I ain't gonna get mushy. I promise not to get mushy. There you go. You can see my beautiful Poker Man shelf. But if I turn off the light, is it gonna make it brighter? Yeah, probably. Okay, whatever. Penises. Be right back, guys. Oh, by the way, that's not its final form. That's just what I have set up temporarily. I will be right back, you sexy mother lovers. All my troubles seem so far away. I need a place to hide. Oh, I believe.
Oh!
Because I love you. Anyways, what were we talking about? Yes! I saw the frog again, and I don't know if I mentioned it the first time, but he's a cute little green tree frog. And as a matter of fact, since I want to show you guys, I'm gonna end this. Bloop. Wrong thing. Wait. That's Moobot. There we go. I look straight retarded in this picture. She got it though. It's me with the little guy on my shoulder. Look at that little guy. Oh, wait. Isn't he adorable? Oh, he's adorable. I don't care what you say. That's probably going to be my new wallpaper. Frog. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. And you guys need to see this. It's like he made a little hyphenated trail, like the like a cartoon character. Look at that. No frog baseball. You stop it. It's like dot dot dot. There's his initial wet splat where he jumped off me. And I thought it was funny. I thought it was. And this is when we first spotted him earlier. He's just a window frog. No frog baseball. Naughty, naughty. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. This tastes okay. But this one tastes more like a... There's no love in it, man. Now, don't get me wrong. There's Jack Black, and then there's Crown Black. Honestly, I think I prefer Crown Black over Jack Black, but they both have this harsh rubbing alcohol finish to them. Sure, there's the obnoxiously sweet starter, but generally speaking, it's apparently I have expensive taste, but there's that expression of you get what you pay for, and it is odd. It's not super odd, but it's just, I don't know, how do you explain it? Well, it's the difference between you go to a nice restaurant versus going to McDonald's. Crown Black and Jack Daniels and all that, that's more like McDonald's and the shit I drink, like Maker's Case and Whistle Pig and all these other things that most normal people haven't heard about. That's like going to a decent restaurant. I'm not saying it's like one of those teeny tiny food on a plate kind of places, but it's more like a like an Outback or Longhorns or even was it Cody's? I don't fucking know. Anyways, it's about that time, guys. Oh, I thought you said something, but you did not say anything. We're getting there. Let me see how long this next chapter is. Like, am I capable of even reading that much? Ooh, okay, you're. This gets me up to page 100. How many pages is that? It seems like a lot. Where do they all belong? All the lonely people. Anyways, I'm not gonna read that many pages because the letters are starting to get fuzzy already. But in the meantime, let me tell you about this one time a lieutenant almost fucking murdered me. There was one time I yelled at an LT, a little butter bar lieutenant, brand new officer, straight out of bullshit school with his bullshit. Now, I'll tell you about this time the staff sergeant almost killed me. Right, now, we are on this site where they wanted to get the shot in, and she wanted to get the antenna extra high so we could get the shot. It's line of sight. LOS shelters we're working with. I believe this was a Vic 3 with no, this, the technicalities don't matter, but basically we set up. We had to climb up a hill to get to this location. Physically climb up and take our telescopic antenna mast with us. Now you're thinking telescopic antenna mast. I'm like, yeah, no. This was the wasn't the big boy, but it was big enough to where, okay. So the first thing about putting up our telescopic antenna mast for MSRT. There's the 4 main ground cables that you put in. So you take a stake about yay big and you drive it into the ground at about a 45-degree angle, right? The holes for the hooks face inwards towards the antenna. They come in like this. Antenna's here. We attach these leads. And these leads, the black ground cables, you know, those are the ground. Those are the main support base. We were told in training, do not touch those once the antenna's up. Do not touch those once the antenna's up. Do not touch those once the antenna's up. Okay, so now this may be annoying, but that's pretty much the way they told us. Okay, so unless you have somebody holding the base and the antenna is not extended, you do not take off the black ground ropes, right? Well, I don't know if this Yellowbone, clearly bats for the other team, was pushing for a promotion or whatever, but the antenna was fully extended and it was slightly crooked at the base. So by default, as you go up, there's 2 more rungs of ropes and cables attached. And she said, oh, well, just attach this ground cable over here and adjust it. Like, Sergeant, we're not supposed to detach unless we pull the antenna back down. Because she wanted to make it pretty for the SOP guys that come by, standard operating procedure guys that come by. And, no, she's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, Sergeant, I'm sure there's a reason in training they told us not to take off the black ground anchor ropes. We need to take this antenna back down to adjust if that's what you'd like to do. No, just listen to me, Private. She said it with a little bit of malice in her voice, and I'm like, okay, Sergeant, it's not a good idea, but you're the NCOIC. I'm sure you know better than me. They took off 1 of the black ground ropes. Mind you, there's still 3 other ground ropes, the black ground ropes attached to the base. And there was still another 2, 4, 6, 8 leads holding the very top. Do you want to guess? You want to venture a guess as to what happened next? What could possibly go wrong with this 8-9 meter tall fucking antenna where we were told in training, don't take any of the black ground ropes off ever unless it's at base and somebody's holding the base? What do you think happened? I'll give you guys a second. Seconds up. Alright, so mind you, we already set up an area that's too small for this antenna as far as putting out the stakes and everything. But that's fine, you know. So there should be 8 stakes out in total. 4 for the main black ground black ropes, right? And then 1 more for the mid and the top tiers of the mast. They got these little collars that rotate, and you hook the rope in and you hook it up to the sumbitch so it stabilizes it against wind and so on and so forth. With the antenna mast fully extended on an area this fucking big, I mean it's bigger than that, I'm exaggerating for the purpose of the story, but 1 black ground rope got detached at the sergeant's insistence because her rank clearly means something. The antenna comes straight towards me. Now, mind you, it'd be one thing if it was only the 6.5 foot section of the base of the telescopic antenna mast, which, by the way, is about, the base is about yay big. Okay? Probably, give or take, about 150, maybe 175 pounds. The entire thing is fully extended, mind you, so it's about 9 meters high, plus the antenna head on the top. I'm looking at this thing in slow motion. I'm just staring at it. I'm like, should I let this hit me and injure me to get this sergeant friggin' damn in trouble? No, I just take 1 half step to the right. Antenna mast, boom, falls next to me. Now, mind you, since this patch was too small for the antenna, what happened was the head, the very expensive head, got snapped off on the top, and it bent the entire telescopic antenna mast. So at this point, the antenna mast can't be retracted because it's now a bow, and it's broken. So she basically broke the antenna head, broke the antenna mast because she was in a hurry and she wanted to impress some bigwigs. And I just looked at her, I'm like, bye, Sergeant, and I just walked off the hill back to my team. My team volunteered my services out. I gave my best advice, but since my rank meant something or absolutely nothing to her, and looking good for the bigwigs was more important than safety, did any major things happen to her? Not that I'm aware of, you know, but her being, you know, female and as black as Kamala Harris. Actually, she didn't even look as black as Kamala Harris, come to think of it. She looked more like a whiter Rosario Dawson, but she had the curly hair, so I don't fucking know. But what I do know is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It doesn't matter what my rank is. What matters is my training is still more fresh than yours is, and maybe they gave us this advice for a fucking reason. Look, I knew I wasn't going to be responsible for it because I literally told her multiple times that we should not fucking do this. And the fact that she didn't want to listen, that was on her. And I didn't face any consequences or repercussions for it. But, you know, at the same time, you know, they teach us the, what was it, 7 pillars of the Army? And there's an acronym for it: leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Right? Well, that respect thing is a two-way thing. I understand as one of the lowest ranking people in the military, my opinion is not valued, but my training is also fresh. I mean, I'd barely been at that unit for like 3 to 6 months, give or take. Doesn't matter. She didn't want to listen, and she paid the price. It could have been with my life. I mean, look, I'm not trying to exaggerate, but picture something that weighs 150, almost 200 pounds coming down on top of your head. That's good night. Good night, Charlie. Hey, don't give a shit if you're in the fucking way. I was gonna catch that shit. Are you kidding me? Fully extended? No. Get out the way. That's what I did. And now I got a story of a nice near-death situation in Korea. Now, obviously, if I would have stood in its way, regardless of what happened to me, that would have been on me. You don't fucking damn play chicken with a train. You don't play chicken with a freaking damn telescopic antenna mast that's coming down at your fucking face. There's just certain things that you do in life. Ooh. Well, on that note, I probably shouldn't drink more because, you know, I'm feeling all right. And whiskey. You guys have yourself a wonderful night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully tomorrow I won't be late, but the goal is 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern. At the latest, I will be up and running. More of the same bullshit. And if you guys like what you see here, please tune in for tomorrow's, technically today's continued run of shenanigans. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much once again for your support. Have yourself a wonderful night.